Hello and welcome to Perry Hall Parkrun. Today I thought I'd do an introduction to me and to these videos. I've been doing them for about 6 months, so I thought you might want to know.
Off we go.
And it's partly for that reason, but the real reason is that my camera broke. I only got 15 minutes or so of footage, so I can hardly use this one and advertise it as a full run because I only got halfway round. I did finish the course myself though, but I'll show you what we've got. So this is me. I'm 48 years old. I'm going to be 49 in June, so I'm getting a bit older, but I've still got a chance, I think, to do some really good times. 10 years ago, I used to be able to easily run 5k in about 21 minutes. I think my personal best is around 2021, which I did a few times, maybe 9 years ago, but I never quite made it to sub 20, which was my target. Thing is, it might still be possible, even at 49, to get to that. We'll see. However, a good run was in the 21s before COVID, but now it's more like it's in the 24s, the average times. I've had a couple of 23s recently, but mostly 24 something is what I get. So 2020 and COVID got the better of me, really. I took a year away from running. I didn't run between March 2020 and July 2021. And combined with some really bad eating and general wear and tear parenthood, it took a big toll on me. So the goal of these videos is to show the parkruns that happen all across the country on a Saturday morning at 9 AM. There are currently 15 parkruns in the West Midlands, and they're within about cycling distance of my house. I use my e-bike to ride there each morning, and it usually takes about an hour. A couple of them take slightly longer to get there, but it's not very exhausting. I try and visit each of the runs about 3 times each year. So roughly every other week I go to one of the runs that's further away from me. And then every other week I go to my home park run, which is at Perry Hall, where we're running today. So my running aims, my real aim is to get a sub 50 minute 10k in the Great Birmingham Run. That happens on the 3rd of May. I've been trying it for the last 3 or 4 years, and I've had a 51, a 52, and a 53. So it feels like it's going in the wrong order, to be quite honest. That would mean getting a 23 minute 5k regularly, I think, particularly because the course of the Great Birmingham Run is very hilly. And so it's not like I can convert a flat time into a flat run for that. So I think I need to be getting 23 minutes or potentially even 22 XX runs in order to get there. How am I going to do it? Well, I need to lose some weight. I've been trying to lose some weight. I'm currently between 90 and 95 kilos. It varies a bit, and that's probably 20 to 30 kilos too heavy. I'm not going to lose that much weight before May, but I've noticed that when I lose a little bit, I speed up massively. So I think that's the main area where I could get some improvements. Combined with that, I want to increase my weekly mileage. I'm currently doing 5k 6 days a week. So that's about 30 kilometers per week. And my aim is to get to something more like 50 per week in March and start to build that kind of base. That would feel a little better. Also, if I'm running better, I tend to eat better because my body needs nicer food. So it's kind of my aims at the moment. How do I do the streams? I generally run with a camera on my head, the DJI Action 4. Occasionally I'll leave a camera running on the bike for a second shot, but you don't get very much of a shot. You just get a few seconds, and it's a little risky to leave a 200-pound camera on the bike while you're running, so I don't tend to do that very often.
Morning.
In my backpack, I have an encoder box. What this does is broadcast the raw live footage to my Twitch account. You can follow me at twitch.tv/radworld. And there you can see my journey to and from the parkrun, as well as the run itself. There's usually a few people who follow along and have a chat. It depends on the day. Sometimes it's been more popular than others. But by no means am I a massive streamer. I'd say average of 9 viewers or something like that. But having done that, it gives a bit of robustness as well. So if the recording doesn't work on my head, I can use the live stream footage, which I've done a couple of times. It doesn't look quite so good, but it does look okay and can be fairly usable. It's worth noting, though, that as this whole thing is done outside in the real world, with a reliance on batteries, mobile phones, etc., well, sometimes things break. Like this week, where it looks like my camera crashed halfway through. Not sure why it's crashed. Sometimes it's overheating. Sometimes it's just a confusion of all the different things going on. The Wi-Fi issues, things like that. It's very unusual for it to crash, but this week it seemed to be one of those times. I also started bringing the drone now to get some overhead shots. They look great when it works, but it's obviously not always possible due to weather, and also for permissions and stuff. The ones near to the airport, you can't do any drone shots, and it's not really allowed to take off the drone from most of these parks. You're allowed to take off from the roads nearby, etc., but you want to keep it subtle. You don't want people shouting at you. So I do try to add some drone footage. I think it looks quite good. Nice to get an overview of the course, but not something that you can do regularly.
Morning.
So that's it. That's kind of the background to the stream. Why do I do it? You know, it's just for fun. It creates a record of what I've been doing, and hopefully it's interesting for you guys. I certainly hope that people who perhaps are looking to see what a course is like and haven't been there before, they can get an up-to-date look at what the course is from my perspective.
Morning.
Not the perspective of someone who's winning, not the perspective of someone who's at the end, but someone who's kind of in the middle of the field struggling through. So that's it on to this week's race. The weather this week was about 6 degrees Celsius and damp. Damp and humid, but not raining. So it felt pretty cold. And also the puddles from where it had been raining had stayed around. So there's a bit of a care needed to take. There was a bit of care needed to take on some sections to avoid the puddles. This particularly because it had been snowing the last week. Parkrun had been cancelled for 2 weeks. So this was the first time back since the 1st of January. And the good news was no wind, so it meant there was a reasonable chance of a good time, and there was no need to kind of hide behind someone on the windy section. However, I started a little bit behind, partly because I could tell the things with the camera weren't working properly. But generally, I prefer to start a little bit behind and move forward rather than to start with the sprinters. I feel like if you take a first kilometre too fast, then it gives you all kinds of problems.
Hold on.
And I find it very difficult to recover from that. So I prefer to just work up to speed as we go. But once I started moving today, I felt pretty good for the first couple of kilometres. Definitely felt like I was kind of bounding along. It was quite relaxed. It was quite fun. That wasn't going to last, though. By the time we were sort of at the end of the second kilometre, I was really kind of gasping for breath and thinking, oh gosh, can't wait till this ends. My legs felt very weak, etc. So I really kind of clung on the best I could to try and get a good time. There was a shout out here, though, for the lady in pink. I'm usually very slightly faster than her. Definitely one of the people where I think, oh, this is someone when I overtake them, I'll be onto a good time. And I could see her in front, and I was like, oh, I need to catch up. This will be good. But I started to think it wasn't her because she was doing so well. But she finished nearly 2 minutes ahead of me and has been improving really fast when I looked at her times. So that's good. So hopefully, I hope to be somewhere close to where she is by the time we're doing the 10K in May. So the end result of the run was that I finished in 24 minutes 54. I'm really pleased to have got below 25 minutes today. Second time this year. Haven't been above 25 minutes this year. But I felt like I really struggled for that time. It didn't come easy. And there's definitely a need for the fitness to do the longer runs and everything. I'm not around next week, so the next run will probably be in 2 weeks' time. And again, that will probably be back at Perry Hall. Here's hoping for a good one. I hope you found this interesting. You can obviously subscribe if you want to. And I will see you next time.